And remember, you can catch up with past shows on Facebook and YouTube, and keep in touch with us on Twitter and Instagram. Community Matters asks questions that matter to our community life. Our young people certainly matter to our community life. And last week we heard from Stephen Milford, Project Manager of Youth Engagement, about the Youth Inspired Project. So I'm very excited to welcome in the studio on Salaam Radio tonight, Kim Chapman. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you very much.
Kim is the Prince's Trust team leader, targeting youth services at Peterborough City Council. Now, Kim moved from Essex a couple of years ago to deliver Prince's Trust programme in Wisbech, and when that was sadly closed down after just a year, she was asked to come to Peterborough and has just completed her first team and is about to start your second. Okay, so let me ask you the first question then. What is the Prince's Trust?
Well, the Prince's Trust is a charity, and it was started with Prince Charles over 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And it aims to support young people up to 25, and in some cases 30, with different programmes to support them either into work, back into education and training. And it's really important that young people are given an opportunity, and I think that's what Prince Charles thought, that young people weren't being given opportunities. And it's young people from all walks of life. I mean, on our last team we had a young man who, since completing his psychology degree, just had no direction, didn't know what to do with his life, was sitting in his bedroom not doing very much. And as a result of him coming on our course, he did work experience at Elliott Construction, and he did so well that although they didn't have any vacancies, they created a role for him, and they've taken him on as a marketing apprentice. So that's the kind of opportunities that we hope we can give to the young people.
So it's not just people without any qualifications?
No, far from it. And I think that's a misconception a lot of people come to, that it's the naughty kids. Far from it. From it. It could be, for whatever reason, a youngster might just lack the confidence. In the case of the young man that I was just talking about, he knew he didn't do well in interviews. Now, that being the case, he's never going to get the opportunity. But as soon as he was given the opportunity with work experience, he worked so hard that the employer saw the good in him. And I think this is what doesn't happen with a lot of young people. They don't interview well, they haven't got the social skills, and so they're missing out on opportunities when actually they'd probably be very good in the role. And also a lot of the youngsters have left school with no qualifications for whatever reason, and they may not be academic. And so what we try to do is we try to match their skills and improve the skills they've got, and help them to decide what path they can go on, either without qualifications or to direct them to get the qualifications a different way. A lot of the youngsters just aren't school. They don't do well at school, they don't do well in that authority. And for us, the programme that I work on, which is the team programme, it's 12 weeks, really full on, and we have them every day. We take them away on a residential in week 2, which is very unusual, and meeting a group of young people for the first time, and then you go away the next week. The idea behind that is that we want to see them bond as a team, and I say that team becomes family. I'm still in contact with young people that I worked with 4 or 5 years ago, because we don't let go. Even when the course is finished, I'll still be on your case. I will still be making sure that you're keeping on.
So it's a 12-week programme, full-time days, including some residential work.
Yeah.
That must be quite expensive.
Yes, but not for the youngsters.
Okay.
It's completely free for them. We work very closely with Peterborough Regional College, and the young people are means tested, and they could get a bursary. They'll get their fares covered by a college bus pass, and if they're means tested that they can't afford the travel, we will fund that through Peterborough City Council. So the youngsters would never be out of pocket. They'll gain a qualification, which in some cases they've never had or finished anything to gain a qualification. So the course does come with 7 units which make up the whole qualification, and it's basically a diary of the 12 weeks. So, and the course is set up in such a way that all the things we do would be reflected in the work environment. So it's about giving them the social skills to speak to strangers, from business to the elderly, to disabled, people with learning difficulties, because we have community projects within the course as well. So as soon as we come back from the residential, we have 4 weeks where the team have to plan, fundraise and complete a community project.
Gosh. What's the size of a team?
The last team we had 16. We finished with 15.
Okay.
And that's the size of team that we would like. Nothing too much bigger than that, because we want to spend a lot of time working with each individual young person. There's myself, the assistant team leader Lucy, and we have also got Police Secondi working on this next team coming. So the 3 of us will facilitate, because actually the idea of the course is that all of the ideas are the young people's. Although there is a structure to the course, they decide what the project will be. They decide how they will fundraise for it. They choose the project. So, they'll go out. It's project management, it's fundraising, it's budgeting, all the things that they don't realise that once they've finished this course, they can add to their CV. Really, really important stuff that employers are going to find interesting. All
with professional expertise.
Yes.
To help them.
Yeah.
Where does the life cycle start? You mentioned working with the regional college, and they might be identifying some young people who appear to be a bit lost as to where their career might be going. So that would be a tap on the shoulder. But could there be a young person that somebody knows of, or maybe a young person themselves thinking, I wonder if the Prince's Trust is for me? What could they do to find out more?
It's very easy to phone the Prince's Trust. I will dig out in a minute the 0800 number that they could ring.
Sure.
Or I'm happy to give my work phone number that you can add to the Facebook page to contact me direct.
We will do that, yes.
But there's lots of other programmes as well that the Prince's Trust run. In particular, something that I'm really interested in the young people developing is their skills to run their own business. And the Prince's Trust run an enterprise programme as well that we can refer on to after, where a young person will get support to learn how to market their business, and they'll also be given some help with some funding.
So it's not just a 12-week programme and then you're off and
no, they can have
left.
A mentor.
Okay.
The mentoring side of the Prince's Trust has changed in recent years, but there is still mentoring. And as I say, I never leave my team behind. I had a message from someone from Wisbeach yesterday. I've used you as a reference. Is that okay? Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
So that's what we're there for.
Now you've just completed, I think you called it Team 45.
Team 45.
What was Team 45's project?
We decided, well, I say we, they decided, there was a few projects in mind. Some of them were discounted for a variety of reasons. One was too far. It would have been too difficult for the team to get to, leaving not enough time to complete the project. So in the end, the team decided to freshen up the walkways at the foyer, Tate House, which is a local youth hostel in Peterborough. I've already got some ideas that I'm going to give to the next team. I went and visited a lovely residential home yesterday, so that's something that I can ask them to consider. It will be then their choice whether we do that as a project. So
here's another thought. If somebody's got an idea and they need some voluntary help,
Yeah,
put it forward to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're always open to new ideas, and it can be absolutely anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely anything. We also do a community challenge later on in the programme towards the end, where we go out and we work with a group. So again, if anybody has got any ideas of a local group that we could do something for, or not for, with, it gets the young people involved with people that they perhaps wouldn't necessarily mix with normally. On the last team, couple of our young lads got some really good experience bingo calling. We went to another residential centre, and we did afternoon tea and bingo. And it was lovely because the residents all have great stories, and it's not the kind of thing that the youngsters would normally sit and listen to. So it was really nice that they sat and they had some really nice conversations with people, and it's double-sided because also the residents got to speak to some young people. Again, if they haven't got grandchildren that come and visit them, that's important for them. They're also seeing a different side of young people, because young people do get a bad rep, and it's not always called for. And I think we need to change things locally to improve the services that we can give to the young people to make their lives better.
I think often we misunderstand other people who are different from ourselves because we don't know them, and the only information we have is what we see on the media, which are the extremes. Yeah.
It's always the really good or the really bad, and the young people that come onto the team programme have already made a decision that they want to make a change, and that's half the battle, is walking through that door saying, I want to be part of this.
So they get to the end of 12 weeks. Is there some sort of ceremony?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, we have an end of team presentation, and again, that could be absolutely anywhere. It depends where we've worked through the 12 weeks. In week 1 of the last team, we visited Dogsthorpe Fire Station, and they were really helpful, and they had lots of different activities planned for the youngsters. They even got to use the hoses out in the street, and then they had to do an activity where they had to save a painting from getting wet, and they went through the dark room, had to find, remember and try to recount it. So they had to do presentations, and all through the course we try to get the young people more confident speaking in social gatherings. So we went to meetings, we go to BGL. BGL were a fantastic help on our last course. They're obviously one of the big local employers, and we visited their building 3 times during the last team. One for a World of Work tour, where we looked at the different kinds of jobs that you could do. Although they deal in insurance, there's obviously lots of other things that you could do working for them, facilities. And actually 2 of our young people did their work experience at BGL, doing facilities and learning about that. And again, they had a really good result. One of them was asked to apply for the apprenticeship there. Another employer, Travis Perkins, they took 2 of our lads and they offered both of them jobs at the end of their 2 weeks. So it is about just giving the youngsters the chance, and this is something that I'm really passionate about, is improving the number of local employers that get involved with this. I've spent the last 2 weeks ringing round. I feel like an insurance salesperson having the door slammed in my face. It is. I understand it is very difficult, but to improve young people in the local area who are the future, we should be giving them a chance. And all we're asking for is 2 weeks' work experience, and they're getting some free labour. They get good advertising. They get invited to our presentation. We've got our own Facebook page as well, and we're very happy to post all the stuff about the local employers that support us, and anyone else who supports us as well. lots of videos and stuff of the residential are on there as well. So we're very passionate about getting it out there, and the people of Peterborough being able to see what we're getting up to.
We'll certainly carry links on our own social media to your Facebook page and the phone number people can ring.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about getting more companies on board. Is there a Chamber of Commerce? What about the Federation of Small Businesses?
That could be something that we look at. Yeah, it's not something that I have looked at. As I say, the last team, I started work for the council about a week before we started teams, so I literally hit the ground running, and now it's the same process running for the next team. But yeah, that is definitely something that I will look at.
And if anyone knows any organisation that runs networking groups for business people, Business Network International, FSB run networking groups, those are great opportunities. And if those groups could invite you along, might have to get up early for breakfast, but
not a problem.
To give you an opportunity to say what it is you're looking for.
Yeah.
If you had one of those companies in front of you now, I won't slam the door in your face. What would you say to them? What are you looking for?
Okay, so what we're asking for is in weeks 7 and 8 of our course to give a chance to a young person to come along and be shown how to do a variety of tasks within the organisation. And it's not as a junior, that's not what we're asking for. We're asking for them to be able to learn through the 2 weeks. So perhaps do a variety of jobs. To give them experience, perhaps speaking on the phone or speaking to customers or learning a new skill, using different equipment. The young person, I'm quite happy for the young person prior to the work experience to present themselves with their CV, to come and meet an employer beforehand. However, we are on a really tight schedule. Everything on the programme is built such that we don't have a lot of downtime, so it is something that we really have to do quickly. And I think I looked yesterday and I think we've got 9 confirmed employers that have said they're happy to take young people, but they may not be doing what the young person wants. And obviously in the early stages of the course we're very much looking at what skills the young person has, what they see as being their work in the future, and looking to try to support them into getting into that. So if they can get some work experience, I mean, it's a great way to find out what you love doing, but it's also a great way to find out that that's not a job for you.
Absolutely.
I think that's a really good way of looking at it as well. I mean, we had a young guy that was a little bit interested in hospitality, and we had him working at Venture Catering, which is the catering sector of Peterborough Regional College. And the secondie and myself went and visited him while he was doing his work experience. I have never seen anybody work so hard. I mean, he really did work very hard. And we asked him afterwards, how do you feel? And he said, it's fine. And he did that. He turned up on time every day. They were really pleased with him. He said, I don't think it's for me. You know, and that's a great thing. He still had some interest in hospitality, but he realised that, you know, cooking for 1,000 people wasn't for him.
Sure.
So he's tried something, but he's also going to get a great reference from that because he did work so hard for another employer to see that he can be a really hard worker. So
now,
that's what
Peterborough is a very diverse city, diverse communities, different nationalities, different cultures, different faiths. Yeah. Is that diversity represented on the team membership?
Yeah, I mean, we had a variety of nationalities, religions on the last team, and honestly, everybody just gets on with each other. There's no, there are no issues, and I think that's testament to the young people. They don't make things an issue, and I don't know if that's because they're in an environment where they know they are trying to improve themselves, and any differences they have, whether they are, you know, because they might have known someone from the past before, We had that on the last team, some people that knew each other a little bit, hadn't necessarily been the best of friends, but did a fantastic job of spending 12 weeks working with them as a team. And they did really support each other. That they bonded very, very quickly.
And you're giving them a common purpose and a bit of structure, a bit of supervision, some boundaries.
Yeah, but ultimately it's their course, it's their team, and they set the rules. They have to set their own ground rules that everyone sticks to. And quite often somebody would say, the rules... and it wouldn't be us, it would be another team member, because they'd realised that somebody had flouted one of the rules and they wanted it, addressed that they shouldn't be doing that in the team room. So,
now, I notice that you've got quite a large number of young people coming forward for the next team, 34.
35 now.
35 now,
yeah,
and you're going to put them through some sort of selection process.
Yes. So the idea is with team that it isn't all girls, it isn't all boys, it isn't all 16-year-olds, it isn't all 25-year-olds. It's about getting a real good mix of abilities, culturally diverse, and a team that will work together. So we're going to have 2 selection days, which are next Wednesday and Thursday. We're going to do a variety of activities to see how they work with each other, who the natural leaders are, who the grafters are. We're also going to introduce some of the paperwork that they will have to do because it is a necessary part of the 12 weeks. It's not huge though, it's very doable because a lot of the course is done out of the classroom. It's not a course where you're sitting at a desk working. We're very much out and about. As I say, 4 weeks doing a project, 2 weeks at the end doing a project, a week on residential, 2 weeks on work experience. We're hardly, in the team room very much at all. And we've got a lovely new team room, which we moved into mid-team last team. We're in a grade 2 listed barn, which is very nice. Right opposite a park, so we've got plenty of breakout space where we can go and have a kickabout.
If I were younger, I'd come.
I would have, chopped my right arm off when I was 16 to do something like this because it's a fantastic opportunity.
Let's look at just for a moment at the longer term outcome from this. Now, you started working with Prince's Trust many years ago in Newnham in East London.
Yeah.
Do you know any of the youngsters who are now maybe 10 or more years on from that? How have they got on in life?
Well, funny enough, I was speaking to somebody yesterday who knew somebody that I knew, sort of. In a roundabout sort of way, we had a young man that was on team a few years ago in Newham. He started out on team, he then became a volunteer. I've just found out that he is now running team in Barking and Dagenham. So he's come full circle. And that's really how a lot of team leaders start out. They will go on team and they'll realise this is something I really like. I think I would like to make a job out of it. Volunteer, and then as jobs come up for assistant team leaders, they can apply and
those are then paid jobs.
And those are then paid jobs. Yeah. So I mean, it's a really good start to get into youth work, to volunteer on a Prince's Trust team programme. And as I say, a lot of Prince's Trust staff started out that way by actually going on a team programme.
So those are other ways that people could become involved.
Yeah.
They could look up your phone number, look up your Facebook page.
Yeah.
If they're businesses, they could offer places for work experience. Yeah. And if they're individuals looking for some interesting experiences, they could come along and volunteer.
Yeah. And organisations for community projects.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
Or they could become mentors.
That is something that the Prince's Trust, you can apply to the Prince's Trust to become a mentor. They have an online mentoring programme.
Right.
So that's something that they could do as well.
Yeah. And then there's a bit more training that the Prince's Trust provide for that.
Yes. Yeah. The Prince's Trust, there's training for pretty much everything.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's ongoing.
Right. We're coming to the end of our time, sadly, Kim. A final thought, a word you'd like to say about Prince's Trust in Peterborough?
We're here to stay, and we just want some support from the local people to help our young people change the way things look at the moment.
What a wonderful thought that is. Kim Chapman from Prince's Trust, thank you so very much for joining us tonight. That's all we have time for this first half of our Community Matters show tonight. A big thank you to Kim for all that she shared with us tonight about the Prince's Trust and its fantastic work here in Peterborough. Stay tuned as we have a great guest joining us after the break. It's going to be the Dean of Peterborough Cathedral, and I've managed to get hold of him despite the fact he's so busy this week. We're off air.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
It does not take much to bring some difference. You give some change, which makes a change, because nothing gets mileage like a charity. Just a little change turns into a chain, and before we know it, the results are massive. So give a little to make a big difference. To give donations, call UKIM on 0207 387 2157.
दोस्ता कियां परेशान है
जरा कर है ना सारा सौदा मुक्या वा मुल्का विच पैसे भेजने
हूं नहीं मार फूड वाले की फोन खड़का ते फ्री लोकल डिलीवरी कार मंगवा
आलाता उथे कै स्पेशल आ
उना की लबाई हाइजीन च ग्रेड 5 चीजें चंगियां म्यारी ते सस्तियां ते नाले ऑफर ही ऑफर
और क्या
ताजा गोश्त ताजी सब्जियां ते फ्रूट आटा चावल दालां मसाले ते जूस सारे बिल जमा करने गैस ते इलेक्ट्रिक ने टॉप अप भी करने पाकिस्तान पैसे बिल्कुल फ्री भेजने मतलब के एक चिड़ी ने दूध छड़ी ते हर शै लबनी
उठ जने ने आप उतरा
Amar Food Store and Halal Meat 613B Lincoln Road Peterborough telephone 01733 687374.
In a city of 1,000 restaurants,
one stands head and shoulders above all others.
Experience home-cooked food in lavish surroundings on the waterfront.
Upgrade your dining experience
To the restaurant that exceeds all your expectations.
Mumtaz Leeds, Chadwick Street Leeds, LS10 1PJ. For more info, call 0113 424 211. Mumtaz Leeds, the majestic restaurant.
Free car parking available.
Mumtaz Leeds is HMC certified.
Do you own a restaurant or takeaway? Cater Fair is an expert supplier of new and used commercial catering equipment. Visit caterfair.co.uk for quality equipment on sale at the lowest prices, or call us on 01733 310 115 or visit us at 11 Royce Road, Fengate, Peterborough.
My name is Khalid Siddiq.
I'm Saif Adam.
Salam alaikum, this is Baraka Blue.
Yo, this is your boy Harris J, and make sure you guys stay tuned to Salaam Radio 106.2 FM.
عن أبي مالك الحارث بن عاصم الأشعري رضي الله عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الطهور شطر الإيمان والحمد لله تملأ الميزان وسبحان الله والحمد لله تملأان أو تملأ ما بين السماء والأرض والصلاة نور والصدقة برهان والصبر ضياء والقرآن حجة لك أو عليك كل الناس يغدو فبائع نفسه فمعتقها أو موبقها.
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salaam Radio.
Welcome back to Salaam Radio on 106.2 FM and online at salamradio.co.uk. This is Adrian Holdstock presenting Community Matters, the radio show for all communities across Peterborough and beyond. My second guest tonight is the Dean of Peterborough Cathedral, the Very Reverend Chris Dalliston. Are you there on the other end of the telephone, Chris?
I am, Adrian, yes. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Welcome on such a busy day of the church's year. Thank you so much for finding time to come and join us on Salaam Radio.
You're very welcome, yeah.
Now, Peterborough has a cathedral, but that's not just for the city. What is the role of a cathedral?
Well, the cathedral is the, as it were, we call it the mother church, but the sort of the senior church, the place where the Bishop of Peterborough has his exercises his ministry, his teaching ministry from. It's called a cathedral because of the cathedral, the bishop's seat. Mm-hmm. And his responsibilities, the Bishop of Peterborough's responsibilities, cover a wide area, equivalent, in fact, coterminous really with Northamptonshire and with Rutland. And also this little bit of Cambridgeshire used to be called the Soak of Peterborough, but Peterborough the city and a little bit round it. So that's the region, as it were, Peterborough Diocese, of which the cathedral is the kind of senior church and the place where the bishop exercises his ministry from.
Right. Now, I have been asked this, so I think it's a great question for me to put to you. What's the equivalent rank between a dean and a bishop?
Well, the bishop is the senior of the person in the diocese, and the dean counts as number two. I'm the number two, and I look after his cathedral on behalf of the bishop, and sometimes called the senior priest of the diocese, or something like that. But so yes, I'm second. I'm second in the levels that there are. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Not that it really matters, because we're all there as servants of God, of course, regardless of our status.
Now, I notice that whenever you welcome people to the cathedral, you always say, "Welcome to our cathedral." Is it just a place for Christians, or do you see it as having a wider role?
Well, we very much see the cathedral as being part of the whole city and for the whole city and for the whole region. It stood here for 900 years, and it's been the spiritual hub, as it were, of this town, this city, and this region for a very long time. And although, of course, it's built for the glory of God in the Christian tradition, we also want it to be a place that all can feel comfortable in, all can own, all can come to. We open our doors to everyone without distinction, and from whatever background or culture they come. We're delighted when we have visitors from other faith communities, and you may know that last year, in celebrating our 900th anniversary, we were able to welcome members of the Muslim community to celebrate Iftar at the front in the cathedral grounds, and then later on we had procession for Diwali. The Hindu community began their procession in the cathedral and moved from there into the town square. So we are there for everybody, whether they have faith, whatever faith they have, or if they have no faith.
Well, that's wonderful to know. It's about embracing humanity and being inclusive.
Indeed, we're all children of God, and we may see God in different ways, and that's natural and comes as part of our history and tradition. But it's the one God, and who loves us all equally, regardless of who we are and where we come from. And we want to express that by opening the doors of the cathedral to everyone.
And I don't know how many cathedrals charge for entrance, but so far Peterborough Cathedral is free to enter.
It is, and we are determined as we can be to maintain that position. I mean, they are very expensive buildings to maintain, of course. Huge building, a very historic building. Everything costs a lot of money to maintain, to heat, to keep open, to keep safe, secure. So it does cost a very large sum of money, but we don't want anyone to feel that they can't come because they haven't got the money to enter. God's grace is free to everyone. So we won't charge. We hope that people, if they have got the ability, will give generously to support the work of the cathedral and to ensure that it can remain open and free to all. But that's our sincere and firm intention.
Now, a bit of a controversial question, this, because very sadly this week we've seen the terrible news of the fire engulfing Notre Dame Cathedral. And there's some dilemma over, should we be spending hundreds of billions of euros in restoring that cathedral, or would that money go to a better use?
This is such a hard one, isn't it? And the question is, if that money wasn't going towards that use, would it actually be going anywhere else? Would people who have chosen to give to something else? There's a story in Scripture about how, before Jesus in Holy Week was about to be crucified, and how one of his dear friends poured very precious ointment, all her life savings out on this ointment to anoint his feet and to show how much she loved and cared for him. And there were among the disciples grumbles, and people said you shouldn't be wasting money, it could be given to the poor and so on. And yes, we have to have a deep concern and heart for the needs of the poor. At the same time, sometimes these things are in a different kind of category, I suppose, and I would feel very exercised if I were responsible for Notre Dame, which thank goodness I'm not, about whether all that money should just go to restore a building. But buildings have a power for people, they have a meaning for people, an identity for people, and a history that goes back such a long way, that transcends almost, the kind of passing of the ages. So should we keep any of our buildings? It's a very serious question, but I think most people feel that they represent something very important and significant, spiritually, historically, for the whole community, and on the whole, people want to see them remain.
There is something very deep about the idea that a cathedral 900 years old, every day possibly prayers have been said, songs of worship have been sung to God for 900 years.
Yes, it's been it began as a monastic community, as an abbey, and the rhythm of prayer that was part of that story would have been day by day, day and night, those prayers would have been said and sung. As far as I know, that has gone on pretty much uninterrupted. There will obviously have been times of conflict in the nation, the Civil War and so on, and times of disruption and dislocation, but pretty much, I would think, throughout that entire 900 years, that chain of prayer and worship of God has gone on, which is quite remarkable and really quite significant about how we understand ourselves and our story and our place within the world, really.
Now, you came to us, I think it was over a year ago now, and you came in time to celebrate the cathedral's 900th anniversary year. What are some of the highlights for you of that past year?
Gosh, well, it was a tremendous year, and the cathedral having been through quite a tricky time, it was lovely to celebrate all that was good about the cathedral, but also all that was good about Peterborough, and it gave people an opportunity from the whole community to come and mark their own community life and perhaps their favourite charity or whatever, and to link it into the life of the cathedral. It gave a kind of opportunity for that to happen. So we had wonderful things. We had 900 fairies gathered of people who are charity dedicated to the care of sick children, and this is a world record. People coming dressed up with wings and things, gathering in the front of the cathedral, and they broke the world record to have nearly 900 fairies assembled. Then we had things like an abseil. That was again in aid of charity. Down the front of the cathedral, which I did as well, which was a bit alarming, but quite fun to do 150 feet from the top of the cathedral. We had the royal wedding, big picnic and party in the square. We had the iftar, which I've mentioned, and the Diwali procession. Perhaps the most significant was when we had Tim Peake's spacecraft capsule, though, and the Museum of the Moon, the replica of the moon, hanging in the cathedral. And these extraordinary contemporary exhibits, they brought thousands and thousands of people through our door who might not have come otherwise, who were able to come and to discover the beauty of the cathedral as well as these extraordinary artifacts, the Soyuz space capsule, the moon. It was a wonderful time, and we really sensed that, Peterborough and its cathedral were being drawn close together in, in friendship and in mutual support and love.
It was a wonderful experience for all. There was one event you hadn't mentioned, and I'm not even sure I understand what it was. It was called a silent disco.
Yes, well, a silent disco, we've done another one of those, and basically people came and you put headsets on, so the people who are dancing can hear, but it doesn't disturb the peace and tranquility of the cathedral, because people are hearing the music in their headsets and are dancing within the space. And I think some people thought, we shouldn't really be dancing in a cathedral, but we read in Scripture of, our hearts dancing for joy in the presence of God. So I think we thought that was a lovely thing to do, and certainly it was very popular, and we've been able to repeat that. And many young people, young children and so on, in a very safe and cared for environment, enjoying the space, enjoying the wonder of this great building around them, and also enjoying the music that they were hearing.
Well, despite the building being old, I gather there's something absolutely modern and up-to-date that links in with social media.
Oh yes, we are thinking about our new app.
Yes.
Which you can download if you're interested in visiting the cathedral. You can, as you come in, we'll give you a leaflet, and you can download onto your iPhone or your smartphone this app, and the app will guide you around the cathedral, and as you go around, it identifies various points of interest in the cathedral and tells you something about the story of those, and sometimes linked to that are some fun games or some quizzes and things like this. So you learn a lot, you have some fun, and it's a very enjoyable thing, and it's a very good way of getting to encounter the cathedral in a different and rather more quirky way.
Mm. Now, I can remember having a conversation with a bishop who said to me, "You never set out on a career with the intention of becoming a bishop. It just happened to him."
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's similar for a dean, but I wanted to expand my question into asking, can you tell us something of your journey and your Christian story?
Of course, yeah. I mean, as you say, one doesn't ever expect to end up, looking after a 900-year-old extraordinary great building. But I began, I came to the Christian faith quite late as a child. Really, my parents were not particularly devout. Well, not at all, really. Didn't go to church. So I discovered faith through friends and networks at school. Began going to church as a teenager. It was my teenage rebellion. Then my faith deepened as I went to university. And after university, I went to work for a Ford Motor Company for a short time. But by then, I was thinking that God was calling me into something a deeper, closer service of Him. And a number of people had said, "Might you be called to be a priest?" And so I was exploring that, and sure enough, then began that journey. I went to train for ministry in Oxford, and then began my ministry in Essex, and then was parish priest for a while in East London, in a very multicultural environment in Forest Gate in East London. And so being in Peterborough with its mixed communities is something I really relish, and seems very familiar and at home. After that, I was for 8 years vicar of Boston, so not so far away from here, in Lincolnshire.
Is that the church called the Boston Stump?
The Boston Stump is the tallest parish church tower in England and one of the largest parish churches in England. Yeah. So that was a good experience of looking after a great big building. It was a good starter for 10. Mm-hmm. And then I went to be a dean of another cathedral in Newcastle in the north of England, England's most northerly cathedral, not anything like as big as Peterborough, but about as big as Boston Stump, certainly. And so that was fascinating, being there in the middle heart of a very busy, vibrant city. There for 14 and a half years before being called to come to Peterborough, back sort of home, really, because I started life in East Anglia, and so it's kind of full circle, really.
Well, we're ever so glad to have you, and to have your ministry here in Peterborough.
It's lovely to be here, and I just so love being in Peterborough and the people and the place, and it's been such a welcoming place to come to, I love it.
Now, we're in a very special season of the Christian calendar. Many people are already calling this Easter, but I would want to say that Easter doesn't begin until Holy Week has ended, just like Eid doesn't start until Ramadan has finished.
Indeed.
But what's been going on at the cathedral this week that is special?
Well, we're remembering, of course, this time of year, the journey of Jesus to in Jerusalem, entering Jerusalem in the final days of his life. We marked that on Sunday, which we call Palm Sunday, because in the story the people took down palm branches to wave joyfully to greet Jesus when he rode into Jerusalem, not proudly like a king, but on a donkey, humble. And we actually had 2 donkeys to lead our procession at the cathedral, into the cathedral. They came into the cathedral, the donkeys too, and went out the other door, thankfully. So we marked that moment of celebration, but then we were remembering that things were going in a very different direction, and the crowd soon turned against Jesus. And of course, then in this week, we're recalling the events of his final days, of how the authorities of the time had turned against him, how he was betrayed by one of his friends, how then he was put on trial by the religious authorities and then by the civil authorities. And though no charge could be found against him, he was crucified on Friday, and we'll remember that tomorrow on what we call Good Friday. Possibly means God Friday, but anyway, that wherever the origin of that name, Good Friday tomorrow, and we'll be remembering that. And then, of course, a day of rest until on Sunday we'll be celebrating our understanding that Jesus could not be held by death but rose to a new life, what we call the resurrection, and we'll be marking that with great celebration late Saturday night and early Sunday morning.
Surely. Now, today I understand is called Maundy Thursday by some people. It's the day on which a large number of Church of England priests from across the whole Diocese of Peterborough come to the cathedral. That was this morning.
Yes,
can you tell something about that service? Yes, well, we had, as you say, a very large number of the priests and deacons, all the ministers of the diocese, gathering in the cathedral, and that was this very holy season for us, for them to renew their commitment to God and to the service to which they've been called under Jesus. So they renewed that. We all renewed our commitment, our vows to serve as deacons, servants, as priests, and as bishops. We also blessed oil, holy oil, because we use oil in various ways in the life of the church as a symbol of God's joy, as the bishop put it. The oil of gladness, which we use in anointing the sick people and reminding them of God's strength when we anoint people who are coming into the life of the church as to be baptized or confirmed, and also ordained for special ministries. So there are these various kinds of oil, and that's blessed to be used and shared amongst all the parishes of the diocese. So that was a very special occasion, a very joyful occasion actually, as we come together. And then tonight we have a different service where we come back to the story of Jesus and remember the time when he broke bread and shared wine with his disciples, and the bread and the wine became these signs of his body and blood for us. And that's the service I think we sometimes call Holy Communion or Eucharist. Yes. Many churches remember that service every Sunday morning. We do that every Sunday in the cathedral, indeed every day in the cathedral. We have a Eucharist, Holy Communion. We share the bread and the wine as signs of this love of Christ, giving of himself for us as we remember this season. We also tonight, we wash feet in the cathedral. We'll be washing the feet of 12 people, symbolically of being his 12 key disciples, and I will be washing people's feet as a reminder that he did that to his disciples and told them that they should serve and love one another and serve other people as he did. He came not to be served but to serve and to give his life for everyone. I think that really does turn the tables, where people consider Jesus to be a great teacher, a great prophet, a miracle worker and a healer. And he said to his disciples, "You call me Lord and teacher, and I am, yet I am here to serve you."
Indeed.
What a beautiful role model that was.
Yes, I mean, in a world that we live in, where there are so many people with, who exercise power in a very cruel, arbitrary, aggressive sort of way, and think that that's what makes them big and important. Jesus showed that true power and authority can be shown in loving service of fellow humanity, of fellow human beings. You haven't got to kind of those other ways are abuses of power. They're not really where power is. And if you really have power, you don't need to be harsh, cruel, and abusive. People understand authority when it's exercised in love.
Now then, tomorrow is the next stage of this Holy Week, and tomorrow's called Good Friday.
Yeah.
The churches across Peterborough are going to come together and march from Stanley Recreation Ground up through Bridge Street, around the memorial at the Town Hall, and then back into Cathedral Square. They're starting the walk at 10 o'clock, and in Cathedral Square we commemorate that very first Good Friday. Not everyone will know that story.
No, and I think that's why it's quite important that we remind people of it. It's become, there was a time when Good Friday was a very solemn, silent day in the calendar, and shops weren't open, and everybody knew about it. These days, people often don't know our great stories of our faith, whatever faith that is. So it's an opportunity to remind people about that, and this terrible death that Jesus suffered. When he was, as I was saying earlier, when he was, accused, sent for crucifixion by the Roman governor, nailed to a cross with other thieves and criminals, which he wasn't. This is an awful way to die, and yet he willingly accepted this, we believe, for love of the world. And so we mark that in this way. We all gather together to do that, and then many churches will have other events and services during the day, as we will. But we come together as all the Christian people, as many as can be there in the morning to mark it in that way, as you say.
And then, of course, on Easter Sunday, we're celebrating Jesus rising from the dead. Yeah.
Yes, and one of the things we do with that quite often, many churches will have, is lighting a fire, a sign of a new life, a new light, and taking the light from that, lighting a new candle, what we call the Easter candle, a Paschal candle, sign of new life, a new light. Remarkable turnaround, as you say. The whole story of Jesus is about turning our expectations upside down. A king who doesn't look like a king, a leader who serves people, somebody who's prepared to die, and yet who death cannot kind of contain, because life and love is too powerful, even for death to hold.
Is it true that Christians get up before dawn on Easter Sunday to start that celebration?
Well, many do. Some will have what they call vigil services the night before. And we will actually at the cathedral, where we'll have many new Christians being baptised and confirmed. That's a big service, so we have many coming for that. And the bishop will be leading that service. In many places there are early morning services. In Newcastle, where I was before, we used to get up at dawn and go to the top of the Newcastle, which was actually a Norman keep, and watch the dawn come up, light the Easter fire, light the Easter candle, while seeing the sun come up over the river. And I know many churches do that. It's a very special thing to do, a very powerful sign of of the sunrise and of the rising of the Son of God, as we understand him to be.
Wonderful. Well, our time is almost out, Chris. It's been marvellous having you on. Is there a final Easter message you'd like to share with the citizens of Peterborough?
Well, I think from our tradition, as I was saying, I think what we believe is that God's love is for everyone. God's love is without restraint, unconditional. He knows how fragile and failing we are, but He will give anything and everything to that we should have life and be made whole again. So that's the Easter message that we believe in the Christian faith speaks of, but I think it's the message perhaps for everyone that God's love is greater than all our hearts and all our imaginations, all that we ever hoped for and more.
Chris, the very Reverend Chris Dalliston, Dean of our glorious Peterborough Cathedral, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
It's been a real pleasure, thank you.
Thank you, good night. Well, that's all we have time for tonight on Community Matters. Remember, you are the community that matters wherever you are. And we'd like you to be a community that lives in peace and harmony. Salam, shalom, namaste, and happy Easter to you all. Good night.
You're listening to Salaam Radio, and it's now time for Asr Azan. This Azan is sponsored by UK Islamic Mission, serving humanity since 1962.
الله أكبر